Yep.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you back here. It is, where are we? July. Oh my God, July of 2024 for anybody that's seeing this way later. I am so glad to see everybody today. I've had so much going on. You know, I just started a series on teaching kids tarot. And listen to this. I have, in a couple of days from now, I am interviewing Teresa Reed from the tarotlady.com. I mean, you know, she's nationally renowned. It's like, this is going to be great. And she has this kids deck that she put out, and I'm really excited to talk to her about that. And also, I've been talking to Claire Lilly. And some of you from the Vince show will remember Claire. And she put out Aunt Lily's tarot deck. It was a deck that she created for her 11-year-old niece at the time. I think the girl's going to college now or something. But she was so kind because she sent me 2 decks. She sent me a full size, and then she sent me her mini. And she also has all these stamps. So she sent me all these stamps because the star of my show, the star of my series, is a 9-year-old by the name of Annabelle. And she's my realtor's daughter, and she's the most precocious little fun thing you've ever met. And we've already started doing some recording. And you know, I love kids because you just set the cards in front of them and say, "What do these mean?" You know, and it's been something. Did anybody here have experience with kids or worked with kids with tarot? I know you have, Dee.
Yeah. It gets interesting. Their interpretations get pretty cool.
Have you seen a difference from when your grandson started? What was he, 7 or 8?
7.
And then now, I mean, have you seen the difference? Because he's older now.
Well, here's what it is. When he was 7 and 8, it was like, oh, how are my grades? And am I going to know how to work math? And am I going to have a friend, you know, that's really going to be fun? And now it is, am I going to get a job? Will I get a car? You see, it goes along with what age bracket.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still asking those questions. Are you kidding me?
I asked those questions today. Anne Marie, you've got experience with your family members.
Yes, and I must say, I must do a little bit more. I've got on tap, I have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 14-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 21-year-old.
So have you been reading for all of them all along?
No, not for all of them. They've been in and out of my little room, my little therapy room, and they've been looking at the cards. 1 or 2 of them, I've drawn some cards for them, or they ask a short question. They're a bit wary. They're a bit kind of thinking, what would Nana know? So we've got to work that around a bit. And again, I don't want to push anyone too hard. But at the same time, now that I'm getting excited now that I hear you getting involved in this, and this is something they're all on holidays at the moment. But when they come back, which is just after the 30th, 31st, I'm going to grab some of them. Promise.
That'll be fun.
Because I have that Cozy Witch deck that you said is very nice. You recommended that.
Oh, I love Cozy Witch. It's such a non-threatening deck, you know.
That's what I thought. I have that, and I love that. So I think I might introduce that a bit. And I have the other one, the witch. There's some other witch one, which again is a nice type, but I think the Cozy Witch is the one to go with. So I'm going to try that out after the 31st. Watch this space.
What I like about the Cozy Witch, get it out of the sun. See if I can get it here. Sorry, guys. What I like about the Cozy Witch is that it's a tarot deck, but at the bottom of every card, it's almost like there's like an oracle, you know, there's something there. And so it's almost like an oracle deck combined. And so, for example, let me see, here's the Fool. Here she is. Here's the Fool. And at the bottom, it says, take a chance, for each morning is a new beginning. And the 3 of Pentacles, look at this 3 of Pentacles. I'm just pulling them out of the blue here. And the 3 of Pentacles says, What's the saying? Teamwork makes the spell work. So it's, you know, it's great for kids, but it's also good, I think, it's great for beginning readers, you know, for aspiring readers, because it helps give just a little bit of depth to, you know, this whole, tarot journey that we go on.
And
And
it's a softer vibe. It's a bit less threatening. In other
right.
words, you're not saying, it looks as if you could have fun with this and you could relax a bit with this, that it doesn't look as rigid as some of the other decks. Once you get used to them, they're fine. But someone starting off, I think, as you said, it's a lovely
Yeah.
deck.
Well, I've got, I don't have Teresa's deck here, but I'm going to be having both. I will probably do a walkthrough on this as part of my playlist for the kid, teaching kids tarot. But I'll have her interview and Teresa Reed's interview. They'll be first up in my series, so that'll be kind of fun. So, anybody got anything exciting going on? I have to say that I have been on Kate Tarot Cafe a lot lately, because I'm learning, I'm living the whole political bullshit scene, through the eyes of a Canadian Democrat. Well, I don't know. But you sure are funny. You have gotten funnier and funnier. And I mean, even over like the last election, that last half election that we do every other year. But you have just really gone to town. But I guess it's because you've had enough fodder to play with, huh?
Oh, well, fasten your seatbelts, because shit's getting interesting and shit's getting real.
I do. I really get a kick out of some of your stuff, but I mean, everybody's gotten so vile and so serious. And you have an opinion, and you absolutely plan on making your opinion in your videos, but you do it with such grace and such humor, it's not vile. And that's why I enjoy it so much, I think, because I get to learn your perspective without, feeling like it's being rammed down anybody's throat.
And I think that's important. Anybody who is seriously talking about politics, people are allowed to have a difference of opinion. And actually, we need the difference of opinion. And yes, I am a dues-paying, card-carrying member of the Liberal Party of Canada, God save the king, etc. But we have to treat each other with respect, and we need conservative thought. And the thing that's kind of got me doing this channel is I hate to see what has happened to the conservative thought tradition in the United States, because what is represented by MAGA isn't conservative, right? And
You go, Kate.
well,
Yes.
conservative is not the watchword for crazy or evil or whatever it's being broadcast. And I think,
but it's
stand up to that.
Do you think that we're just in this not hearing anyone? Sorry, the machine is asking me to turn up the volume. Okay. I think that it's not just us. I think this is almost worldwide. I mean, look at France. I mean, look at the UK. I mean, it's Anne Marie over there by you. I mean, you guys have had a lot going on there too, politically.
We've had a lot of people backing out now, people who have been at the top, who've had experience of it. Maybe not for a lot of years. We had a lot of older politicians here for years and years, and then in the last pre-COVID, we had lots of changes. But I see now, one by one, those big names are dropping back. Now they're younger people, but they seem to be the message that's coming across is, look, we've given it everything we've got. Now we need a life. They're getting a lot of flack from people. They're getting that they don't have a life of their own, and some of them have stood down now recently. People who are very good, very dedicated during the whole COVID era, and they're just standing back now, and you can almost see them relaxing into their own lives again.
Yeah.
And I think that's becoming more important. Before you move any further, you mentioned Teresa Reid. Has anyone
Yes,
seen the
her coloring
Isn't that
book.
cool? Our
Oh,
colouring book? I absolutely love that, and I haven't done an awful lot with it
yeah, and
because
it's really popular here in the stateside.
I hate it. I hate to colour it because I keep thinking what I tend to do is I tend to which defeats the purpose probably. I tend to photocopy a page and
And
colour
then
it.
color it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to mark up books. Well, back to the business of tarot. Last month we lost 3 of you. We had, all different kinds of things going on, and so Dee and I we just kind of had our own little conversation. But it was about just rituals, things that we do. And I had some question. I had one big burning question that I thought might be interesting for some people, and that was. And that started the conversation about having, are there set systems that people have for things? But one of the things that I always had trouble with and still struggle with a little bit today, and that is when I get a court card as a final outcome. Is that automatically a person, or is that automatically an attribute, or how do you decipher? And I think that there are probably a lot of inspiring, aspiring tarotists that probably struggle with that. And for me, if card number 1 in a Celtic cross, the first card, the subject card, is a court card, to me that is always a person. But that's for me. But for the outcome card, that's a different ball game. And I was wondering, I wanted to get you guys the rest of your opinions on that. See what you think. Because we know Dee was she's gonna pull clarifiers to find out. Yeah. So, but what do you think, Kate, about that?
I think I go like intuitively with it, whatever comes first into my mind, and it's kind of I just basically by that point I have surrendered to the process of whatever's coming out of the tarot cards, and just trusting the process that the collective unconscious, or however spirit, whatever you describe this as, talks to me, will give me whatever the words are, because it comes in terms of images, and I have to translate into words.
Right.
And so it's just it's always there. Now, it's not saying that I know immediately whatever card is, but a lot of times I have come back later and that reading I did last week on such and such, that's who the page was, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think so often, especially when you're doing bigger spreads like the Celtic Cross, I think that we find people cropping up, or a need to turn to somebody or something. So, for example, if I'm looking for an answer to something and I get the Hierophant, right? And then my final outcome card ends up being a king of the king of swords or somebody. It's almost as if they're saying, yeah, you need to turn to somebody, right? It's hinting that you're turning to somebody, or you're looking for, or you may need to bring in some professional help or whatever. And then there they are. So it almost like the court card in the final outcome might solidify what the cards have already told me or hinted to earlier in the reading.
Like a clarifier.
And I have certain cards that I've kind of mapped to mean certain things in political tarot. They wouldn't mean anything else anywhere, right? King of Cups, Joe Biden, right? Because of the emotional connection he can make with people. Some other things like that.
Yeah.
Which of course will all have to be remapped.
Of course, eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Emperor, my father. It's like, what are you doing in this person's reading, Dad?
Yeah, the 10 of Cups is the voter, the body politic, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not the only political tarot reader that has those kind of shortcuts.
Yvonne, you were saying.
Oh, I just mentioned that when you said you get you get a, what was it, a king after having the emperor. And I mean, I think that that's kind of like a clarifier.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny when you said that. It's like, oh yeah, and my outcome card becomes a clarifier card, and I thought, yeah, that's doable. You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
What do you
Most times.
what do you think, Anne Marie, about that?
I think I like the idea that Tom Benjamin has. He says sit down before you do reading, long before you do reading or readings, and make make a pact with your deck. Decide what you're going to do. Decide if that first card comes out. Say that when you're talking about rituals, I generally feel that the first card that's laid down is the basis or the what everything rests on, or that's where you get that's where you go from. And he's just saying, you know, make a pact or a deal with your deck. If that first card comes out, tell it what you want it to be. Is it going to, if it's a court card, is it going to be the querent? Is it going to be somebody who's going to have an adverse effect on the querent? Tell the deck make your deal before you start. In other words, don't
Setting
wait until you see
intention.
a card. Yeah, sorry.
Setting intention.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Set your intention, and the same when it comes to um, the outcome card. Uh, you know, just say what if it is going to be a court card, and if that bothers you, um, set your intention about what you want it to be. Do you want it to be an attribute that the querent has to work with, or is short on, or what do you want it to be? What do you want it? And then your deck at least knows what you're dealing with, what you're expecting. And I believe that filters into your reading.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me ask another question, and that is, I do not read reversals. I don't apologize for not reading reversals. I truly believe that every card in the deck has a light side and a dark side. So it has, you know, it has that you know, I believe that spirit is always looking to help us. I believe they want everything in a positive light. So to me, every card's positive, and yet they have a shadow side, like we all do. And so for that reason, I don't feel the need to read reversals. But every once in a blue moon, I'll be doing a reading, especially when it's for somebody else, and I get a reversed card that pops up out of the blue by accident. And I'm curious if those of you who don't read reversals, if what you do when that happens to you. If you keep it, or do you just turn it around, or what you do with it? Anybody?
Well, I take note of that because, like your story, I assume that all my deck they're upright, and that's the way I expect them to be. I don't see any need to use reversals. But if by magic a reversal pops
Yeah.
up, I take that card, I might even lift it up and look at it, and it becomes something to watch out for in that reading, or the meaning of it becomes extra important. It's like it's like that card waving a flag at you and saying, "Yoo-hoo, I've got something important to tell you." So I don't discard it, or I do turn it the right way around. I do turn it upright, but I do take particular note of it and ask myself, what extra does it have to add to the reading?
Yeah.
Maybe more than itself, maybe more than whatever card it is. Does it have that little bit extra to add, and maybe to the cards on either side of it? What's
Yep.
special about it?
Now, Yvonne, do you read reversals? Typically read reversals?
I don't typically, however, if one comes up, I was kind of laughing when I was listening to this question, because it never fails. Whenever I'm doing a reading and I get a reversal or a card that's reversed, I always react. I always react. I can't help it. You know, no, not that big, but I mean, you know, I get yeah, right. I get the oh, and then you know, and 9 times out of 10 the querent sees it. sees my reaction.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of like do this thing. And I go, it's okay. I look at them, I smile, I flip it over, I go, it's all good. I go, let's keep going. And so, you know,
It's like, oh
but
shoot. It's like, what?
yeah, like, oh yeah, yeah. People freak out when
Yeah.
you can't react, but I do.
No.
I mean, I'm human.
And unfortunately,
Right.
and I'm thinking, because I just did a psychic fair 2 days ago, and unfortunately, I react. That's just who I am, right? But it's like I'll flip the first card because I do 10 cards, right? And I'll go, oh my, it's like, yeah, right. Okay, here's the next card, and here's what this one, here's this one. So yeah, I already got your number now, pal. And now it's like, I see where we're going with this, you know, and they're like sitting on the edge of their seats. It's, you know, it's, I don't know why I do
You
that,
really
but
have to work on that poker face, okay?
it's like I have no poker face when it comes to reading, but it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, but
Yeah.
like what Anne Marie said, you know, and I think everybody can concur with this, that when you get a reversal, it's a flag. It's a red flag, or it's a
Mhm.
purple flag, or it's some kind of
Mhm.
flag, and it's telling you to come back to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just keep
yeah,
going.
it's almost as if for me, it's almost because I truly believe the cards are spirit driven, and for me it's like I have a spirit screaming at me. To me, like a reversal card, it's like they're screaming something at me. It's like, oh, you know, and it grabs my attention too. So
Yeah, so pay attention to me.
yeah.
Pay
Yeah,
attention to me.
it's almost a saying, it's almost as if it's saying, don't pass me over, and I have more to say than my picture says.
Yeah.
You know, there's
I've
more
got a
to
good
it,
one
they
for
have a
you.
deeper meaning. So
I
look for
agree.
something else, look for more from me.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good one.
Okay.
So you get a reversal, you take note, and you go to put it to turn it around, and it doesn't turn around. Then what?
Oh, I love you. That's what happens to me. They don't turn.
It'll
Pay
turn on you,
attention,
or
ladies,
it
is what it's
slides.
saying. Pay attention.
Pay attention. And that's how it gets my attention, because it doesn't really want to turn. And if it does, it's like it won't stay still in the spot. It keeps moving. So it
Yeah, I
won't
was
let
just
me
going to
let
say,
go.
explain to the people listening to this what that means by it won't turn, because you're picking it up and turning it around, but
Yeah.
as soon as you let go of it, it flips back, right? That's what you're saying?
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
it moves. It's
It
almost
moves.
like it's out
You
of
bump
life
it,
of
you
its
think you're
own.
bumping it by accident, but it's not. It's by design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
It's by
that's fine.
design. I like that.
I
So-
do too.
So, so let me ask a different question, and that is, do you assign different decks for different types of readings? So if somebody comes at you and they're asking for a relationship reading, or if they're asking for a career reading, or a personal, you know, a personal growth reading, can you use the same deck for that, and give as good a reading, or do you feel the need to switch decks in that case, Kate?
No, if they're here at my house, I just take them over to the bookshelf of all things tarot and tell them to pick a deck. Right? There's 155 decks there. Knock yourself out.
Mhm.
If I am reading for myself or for the channel, a lot of times I stand in front of same bookshelf, and it's like, okay, here's the question, guys. Who's volunteering? Right? And I just get a sense of what card to pick up. And then every once in a while, a question will just come into my mind, and I know immediately I need to use the chakra healing tarot for that one. So
Interesting. What about you,
Yeah.
Dee?
Well, I have some decks that when they, especially with my grandkids or friends who do come through, they have specific decks that they like. The Mystical Moment,
Yeah.
crazy about that. And of course they like the regular Gilded Tarot, but that Mystical Moment and right now the Ehrenberg Tarot, which
Oh
is our
yeah.
really new deck.
Yeah, we love that.
Really resonates with a lot of people, and the Crow Tarot. I'm
Yeah,
into that
King
too.
Crow.
Yeah.
I bought her, I bought a second deck from her. Oh, so did you, Dee. Didn't you buy Guardian?
Guardian.
The Crow
No.
Tarot is fabulous, but the Guardian of the Night Tarot is
Oh,
also
yes, yes, yes.
by
Okay,
her.
another one.
And then
Yeah.
she has a book, a book that's an extension of the Little White Book for the Crow Tarot, and I got that for Christmas. And this deck is, I'd forgotten about this. I got to get this one out and to read it more.
Yeah. It's real good.
Yvonne, what about you? Do you
Okay,
do you read different? Do you feel the need to change decks for different types of readings, either for yourself or for others?
Well, I don't necessarily feel that I need to change it. I think that, every deck is a good deck.
Mhm.
However, if I'm at a fair, I usually have a couple of decks sitting out, and I'll ask the person who's coming, the client, well, what's your question? And or, which deck do you prefer? And they'll pick, they'll choose. And I think that in a way is spirit saying, okay, this is the deck for this particular person, for this particular question.
Because they don't know.
But,
I mean, if they're not tarot readers themselves, they don't know what deck they're picking. So it probably
So-
is a little bit of their spirit, infused into that choice.
I
So,
believe that's so.
Yeah.
As far as my regulars that
mhm.
have me read for them, they always pick the same deck, and it's because it's the oldest deck that I own, and it's a psychic tarot.
Yep.
And that's the one that gets used a lot.
Yeah.
And I've even mentioned to my daughter, it's like, I think I need to get another deck. Don't you dare replace that one. I won't. But that's the one that gets most use.
I just got in the mail yesterday a replacement deck for one of my decks. First time I've done that. Now I have 76 and 77 coming. They should be here shortly. But do you replace decks that you wear out? I mean, have you guys done that? Or had to do that yet? See, when I feel like a deck's starting to get worn, I gently set it aside and pick a different deck, so because I don't want to completely wear them out. But my Anna Kay is just about shot. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and with that, it's if you have clients who, like I do, that want a particular deck, then
Sure.
that's the
That's
deck
what you
that
go
they
with.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's beat up or not,
Yeah.
but because they love that deck, right?
What about you? What about you, Anne Marie? Do you switch out decks for different types of readings, or do you not feel the need?
For a while, for a period there, for a few months, I was very attached to I think it's called the Gilded Tarot by Chirom
Yeah, sure.
Marchetti.
Love
Yep.
him.
Chirom Marchetti, and it was it was a fabulous looking deck. I fell in love with it online, and it for me it cost a small fortune anyway, but I got it, and for a while, for quite a while, I found that was my go-to deck for anything romantic. I was going above on
Oh,
that, and suddenly it stopped. Suddenly, I was back to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I like very well is the Radiant. I love the colors. Something about the colors appeal to me.
yeah.
So I find
Okay.
myself going back to that, and I find myself at the moment drifting again from the Radiant, not away from it, but the Radiant and Witches Tarot is very appealing to me at the moment for some strange reason, and it's a darker deck.
Yeah.
It's
It
a lot
is.
of shadows,
It is.
but for some reason, but I keep going back to the not the Gilded Tarot, the Radiant, the Rider Suit Radiant. But for quite a while, well, let's say for a few months at a time, I did romantic ones with the Gilded Tarot, and it worked out very well. I found a different feel to that, and I'm not sure why I stopped doing that, but it was as if it had run its course for a while,
Makes
and
sense.
I must take it back out again. But that's where so at the moment
Yeah.
I seem to be sticking with the Radiant and the Witch's Tarot.
Well,
Witch's Tarot, not the Witch's Tarot.
Mhm.
I have found with all the decks, I mean, I take 2 decks to the festivals with me. And I usually pick which one, you know, I'll just take it. But I don't need to switch decks. I can read any type of reading with any one deck. I don't have that problem, but I have found that there are decks that I can't read certain things with. So, for example, if somebody wants a spiritual reading, or they have a very heavy situation, or you can tell they're in a very heavy place. Osho Zen works really, really well for me. It's a serious deck. It's a very spiritual deck, Osho Zen. But I consider myself a solutions-oriented reader. I like to read for people, and I want, when they walk away from my table, I want them to understand what I said and what came out of the reading. And I would like to give them something, if not just one thing to walk away with or to take away with them. And for that, I love the Everyday Witch deck. I love the classic tarot by Barbara Moore, you know, which is a Llewellyn. And then I also, you know, like my Anna Kay, I like that type of artwork. I like that very simple, everyday, you know, people look at the card that are not tarot readers and they can see things in the cards. And that's why I love really good pictorial decks, you know, for the everyday reading. But yeah, I find that for me personally, I can't read like the Anna Kay for other people as well. I usually read it for myself, and then I read like the Everyday Witch or Cozy Witch for other people. So it's interesting, you know, it's, you know, we're swapping off and learning different things. So
I remember hearing at one stage about the color, the whole color thing, and the cards, and something about the querent, some part of their aura or their instinct or their intuition goes with color on the cards. So they choose a deck that suits how they are in the moment. They choose
yeah,
a deck that is matching maybe their chakra, maybe their chakras are in line with one particular color or whatever. But I have heard that. I've heard that said, but like that story, I have a few. I don't mind. I can use any deck to read from, or any deck that I like to read
yeah,
from. If I don't really like the deck, if I'm not in love with the deck, I tend to leave it to one side. And I think that's only a matter of getting used to it, a matter of giving it a chance.
yeah,
And once you're comfortable with the deck, and once you look at the pictures and you like those, you like what you
yeah.
see, the story is going to come.
Right. And I think that we see the story in the cards in the beginning anyway. So I think when a certain card comes up, it's almost as if Spirit is saying, "Oh, here's where I want to take you with this. I know where you're going to go if I give you this card." And so Spirit will give me that card. It's like, "Oh, this is the direction they're taking me. Okay, I can tell that story." You know, so because it's nice to see, because you can see the story in the cards. But so let me ask you this. We know from past podcasts, and we've talked about this, that both Dee and Kate love to, when we talk about pages, right? We know that the page, you know, is a page can be a message, and that they automatically pull clarifiers when they see a page. Do any of you, including Kate and Dee, do any of you have any other cards other than the pages that you automatically pull clarifiers on if you get it?
Let me see, what did I say? Yeah, I would think, to go back to what somebody said very early on about the court cards, I would pull a clarifier if it's a card that just doesn't seem to fit, that just doesn't seem to be part of the story. I would pull a clarifier. I'd pull up to 3 cards, generally try with one, because I think if you stay even working with the card you've got, you'll come up with what you're meant to get. But
Right.
if I'm
I
doing
agree.
it, I'm doing it in a hurry, I don't want to hold up things, and this card, just, it's there. So I believe if a card is there, it's meant to be there. And if I find I can't think of why it's there, I'll pull a clarifier. and see, what is your message? No matter what card it is, what's your message? Or even, do you have a message? And then you can move on quickly if you find you don't think it has a message. As Lynn was often saying, every card that comes doesn't have to be a major player. Every card doesn't have, some are fillers, some are connectors, some
Yep.
are just there to watch what's going on at the one below them or the one above them.
Yeah,
So that's what
And-
I think that's what I had. I was looking to see, why would I pull it? So just if something comes up in a position, Lynn mentioned something about a card number 7 in the Celtic Cross, and you were saying, so what happens if you use that card as ask
That's my
how you
shadow card. Yeah.
shadow card, how are you creating a block, or how are you sabotaging yourself? And I think you came up with the 10 of Cups, and you said, how could that be?
Yeah.
And immediately it came into my mind, well, that's obvious anyway. You're just expecting too much. Life isn't like that. You've got to reduce. You reduce your expectations.
I will say that every time, I'm doing a Celtic Cross in public, and I pull the card 7 and say, okay, how are you going to sabotage your situation? And they always giggle. They always think that's funny, but it's kind of a, hey, what not to do card, in that particular spread. But anyway, anybody else pull up cards for, the reason why I asked is I was thinking like something like, for example, if I get the death card, I might pull 3 clarifiers to find out what type of transition might be occurring. You know what I'm saying? To get a little bit more detail on something like that. I'm just wondering if you guys had any that you did like that.
That's a good one. That is good. Because when you get a death card, I mean, it could be just simple, and you could tell the client that it's, there's an end to whatever's happening, whatever the question is.
Yeah.
But I think that would probably be a good situation to pull clarifiers, just because of the card itself.
I never really thought about it until we had this discussion a few months ago about, the pages and about that automatically pulling, because I never thought of automatically pulling a clarifier for anything, but it started me thinking, what cards would I automatically pull something? And so I started doing that with the death card, and it's really, it's helped a lot, just because that was my intention. And so I think Spirit knows that it's like, I want to know what the transition is, or how this transition is going to take place. And so I get that, you ask for the information, they will give it to you, if you ask.
Now I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you're pulling those on the death card, do you go through like the 10 cards of the Celtic Cross and then the next cards, or do you reshuffle, or do you use a new deck?
When you're when you're pulling the clarifiers?
Those three clarifiers on the death card. Say it come up in the number 6 position.
Sure. Right? For me, I lay out the whole, I lay out the whole spread. I do it a little differently than other people. I lay out the cross first, because the cross, if I'm sitting across and I'm reading you, Kate, and I don't know your situation, and I don't know what's going on. I know you have a concern about your health, right? And so I'm obviously looking for health cards that I have established as health cards. A couple of days ago, she wanted to know about her love life. And I said, she wanted to know if she was going to have any more children. And I got nothing with kids. I got nothing about family cards coming up. And I said, and I told her, so I just said, but we kind of clarified, and she says, I said, I don't see any within the next year. And she said, well, do you see any ever? And I said, well, let's throw all the cards aside and draw 3 more cards. And she got the Empress. So I said, yeah. So yeah, just maybe, maybe not this year. So, but I will lay out the 6 cards in the cross, and I want to see what the foundation is. Where did this question come from? Where is this concern coming from? And what's the energy leaving, and what's on her mind, and what's going on. I like using that first. What's the obstacle? What's blocking her? Then I use the staff. I turn those over together last as the messages from spirit. So for me, I want to, it's hard to read all 10 at the same time, you know, and try to keep all the directions. But I found when I quit turning over the staff and just turned over the first part, read it first. So I would just stop right then and there, and I'd probably pull the first 3 off the top, or sometimes I cut the deck once and then pull the top 3 off for the clarifiers. It's the answer to your question. So I do that when I get around to number 6. So, but oftentimes I'll wait and see what messages are coming through on the staff, because that might answer the question before I need to pull. But now I'm getting to the point where like you guys, I kind of picked up what you guys are doing, and once I get a page, I pull those 3 right away, right when I'm reading it. So if I get if I get a page if I get a page as the crossing card, right, the second card, I'll stop and pull 3 right then and there.
But do you pull it from using a new deck?
No,
Or do
you
you
do.
pull it with your same deck? I use a second deck
Right.
when I pull that
Cool.
because I want to have all that. I also use at the end, if there's any other card that really kind of pulls at me, I use the bottom of the deck. And I just will use one. Sometimes it's like, it says, yeah, so you get the Chariot. You're going in the right direction. What does the card behind the Chariot say? Hey, you're going to celebrate. I use it.
Yeah.
I continue with that until it just says, okay, you've had enough. Stop.
You know, I've had that happen before where I always turn over the bottom of the deck. That is my last card when I'm doing a reading for somebody. Some people pull an oracle card, some people do other things, but I will flip over the bottom of the deck and say, last word from spirit, right? And it'll be such and such card. But you know, and then I usually set it up by the outcome card. But then the next card on the bottom of the deck is so interesting. It's almost like you have to keep going. You know, I've had that happen. I've had that happen. Anne Marie, I got to tell you, I had to chuckle when you said that. What did you say? You were talking about pulling the clarifiers and you're pulling one, but if you're in a hurry and you don't feel, and you don't feel like working for the answer, here, I'm going to lay out 2 or 3. Just tell me. Don't make me work for it. I can see that.
I really believe that that every card is there for a reason, and if you stick with it, you'll find it. But
That's true.
You don't always have that luxury of the time.
Yeah.
So this is why I think just do what you want to. Now, something else struck me. I remember once going through a stage once. People come up with these, they have the question that they want answered, and they kind of know, or they don't know, or they think this is what they want answered. And then you've come through 1 through 6 of the Celtic cross, or a variation of it, and you have a good idea what's happening. Now, instead of going through then your shadow side or whatever, I got this idea of making the last 4 questions. You've got a good idea of what's happening, making the last 4 cards of the staff questions they can ask you about what you think has been happening on the first 6.
Oh.
Does that make sense? I thought people are coming up, they come up with these questions anyway. So at least this way you shortcut them and you say, look, you've got this 4. I tell you what I think is going on, or what we have decided is going on. Now, these are your chance to ask me any, like clarifiers, really. They're clarifiers for them to work with. Now, if it's something you're not sure about, something that you weren't sure why I said it, or whatever, this is your chance. And then I use those 4 to allow them to ask for clarification.
I have a new friend down here in South Texas at these events, the psychic fairs that we're creating down here. And it's really interesting because she will let, at the beginning of her reading, she will let you have 3 questions, and she will pull 3 cards, for each question, and she will answer for you 3 questions. Then she does her reading. It's kind of interesting how, and I'm trying to, I haven't had a chance to really sit down and I want to sit down. We're going to have dinner here soon, and I really want to pick her brain on how do those questions help her formulate the rest of her readings? You know, I mean, say, you know, the type of questions that people ask and the things that they're concerned or interested. I mean, I think that it's kind of an interesting way of doing it. You know, it's like letting them letting them get off their chest right away what they want, and then they can settle in and let her do her psychic reading, you know, after that. So
There was another lady that you introduced us to, Lynn, Maddie Elruna. Would that be the
yes,
right
Maddie
name?
Elruna. Yeah.
And her system, she was saying, which I liked the idea of, she did a kind of a version of the Celtic cross again, just to find out, not the question the person wants to ask, but just to find out about them, what their energy is like,
Yeah.
how they're feeling in the moment. And that was that was her initial spread that she did, just to find out where
Yep.
they're at. And then she put that to one side and went ahead and did her spreads for the question that was coming up, or the problem, or whatever.
Right.
But she said, first of all, to give them an idea, or make them be aware themselves where they are in their life at the moment, what their expectations are, or how they're feeling. And I thought that was good, because immediately it's bringing them from the outside world of hustle and bustle, or thinking of a million things. It's bringing them back into self. It's bringing them back into the reality of their own self.
Yeah.
So
But
I like
I
that.
also think if you can hit on, especially in the cross section, if you can get a good feel with the Celtic cross
Mm.
on where this person is coming from, you know, and how they're feeling, and I mean, if you can hit on something in that, you win them over. You gain confidence from them in order to, and then by the time you get to the messages, ooh, then they get really curious, you know, and then you kind of have them, you know, you kind of have them working with you, I guess, instead of, you know, against
That
you.
a lot of the time,
You know.
I think, as I think someone was saying earlier, by the time you've drawn the first two cards, the card and the crossing cards, you know the story.
Yeah, you're getting clued in
You
pretty
kind of know
fast.
where you're at.
Yeah.
The rest is teasing it out, or finding out what you want to do about it,
Right.
or giving
So,
some advice or
so
help.
Anne Marie, you mentioned that I use card number 7 for. I like the analogy that you chose. That, you know, I use card 7 for how are you going to sabotage this situation, and then you get the 10 of Cups, right, and something like that. So, what do you? I know that all of you use positional spreads to a degree, maybe not always, but I know, do you like to branch off and do, you know, stories, and, you know, let the cards tell the stories, um but when you are when you do have a positional spread and you have a specific a card lands in a specific position that just doesn't seem to fit, like in that situation where it just doesn't seem to fit, um
Mm.
do you adhere to that positional meaning, or do you let it go and follow spirit in wherever they want to take you?
Well, are you thinking, are we still back with the 7 and the
Yeah.
10 of cups?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at?
Yeah. Yep. So if it's,
With card number 7 and the 10 of cups, but are we taking that as an example?
yeah, we could use that as an example. I mean,
Because
would
that
you
to me
stay
was
with that
very,
because
yeah.
you know, when we can talk about it now and we can rationalize how that, you know, what is the shadow side of a 10 of Cups? I mean, we could rationalize that and talk that out and think about how that would fit, how that could fit in that position. But that's a lot easier to do here than it is off the cuff when when you're doing a reading and it comes out of the blue in a completely different situation. I mean, do you allow yourselves to veer off of the positional meaning, or how important is that positional meaning for you to stay with it? How about you, Yvonne? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a deep question. Because what I'm doing is I'm thinking about different readings that I've done where
Right.
I've come into that sort of situation. I usually try to go with the position, the meaning of the position, right?
Mhm.
But if I'm getting this feeling, this gut feeling that you know there's more to it, there's a different layer to it,
Mhm.
then I'll go with that. I usually go with my gut.
Yeah, I
So
do
my gut
too.
has never steered me wrong.
I love positions and I try never to veer off of positions when I'm in a practice situation, because that's, the point is to find that answer. That card showed up in that position for a reason. Let's find that reason. But yeah, when all else, when you're in front of somebody and you have you go by the situation, to me, the positions go out the window and we read the cards that we're given.
Right, because sometimes you have a card that just doesn't make sense
Right.
for it to be in that position, and you're on the clock, because
Yeah.
you have to
Agreed.
go to your next reading,
Mhm.
or you have someone else in line waiting, and you're stumped because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to that particular position. So what do you do?
Well, you
I
can
go
put
to my
clarifier
intuition.
for one. Yeah.
A lot
Or-
of times,
Well, yeah, you can do the clarifier, but
Yeah.
you go with your intuition. I think
I
you go
agree.
with your gut,
Yeah.
because there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason that this particular card is there, obviously. And so, rule of thumb, yes, try to stick to the positions.
Yeah, I would.
But when it comes down to it,
Mhm.
if that card is just not making sense, then give it a chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
One of the things we were talking about, I think you mentioned earlier, that what do you do to prepare for reading? And I don't know that we talked about it in this particular event, but in past events. One of the things I like to do before I even start my readings is I talk to my cards and I tell them, I go, talk to me. I tell them, talk to me.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know so that I can help the person who's coming to see me.
Right.
Um,
Yes, I have that little discussion with spirit every time as well.
Yeah, I tell the cards, I go, talk to me.
Yeah.
So
Give me what I need and put the people in front of me that need me, and let me be there for them and help them.
exactly, yeah, because I mean they're coming to you because they're at their wits' end, or
Yeah.
they can't figure it out, and it's always nice to get eyes from someone who's on the
Sure.
outside looking in, and that's who we
Absolutely.
are. We're on the
Yeah.
outside looking in,
We are.
and we can help them.
Yeah.
And sometimes, honestly, for my own self, when someone comes to me and I've done the reading, there are times where I feel like, my God, did I even help them? I feel like I could have done something more, or why why am I feeling like this? Well, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's
I don't know
tough.
the answer to that, but that's for
Yeah.
people who are new at it. Just know that you're going to feel like that sometimes.
I'll tell you that
Because-
imposter syndrome is tough to get over, and it doesn't ever really go away. I don't think. I think if professional readers say they never felt like every now and then, like, ooh, like, have I lost it or something? I think they're lying, because we all go through those moments of lack of confidence in our abilities, or our ability to convey what we know needs to be conveyed. So
And that
we're
goes for any
human. Oh no.
that goes for any profession, any
Yeah,
profession.
I agree.
Well,
And if you look
I
at
picked up
tarot,
sorry, I picked up a oh no, a mat, a card reading mat at one stage years ago at a fair or a festival or whatever, and there was a lovely little note in it. Now it depends whether you're into angels or not, but it had a lovely note, and it was, "May the angels guide our choice of cards to bring heavenly guidance and healing, and a clear and accurate reading for the good of all concerned."
Yeah.
And sometimes that settles down people so well. If you unfold the mat, this is a small silk mat, if you unfold that and you ask them, obviously you're not going to ram that down someone's throat who has no belief in it, but you
Right.
kind of find out, would they find this helpful? Sometimes it settles people down. It takes away the fear of tarot, that they feel a bit more protected or loved, or whatever way you like to put it. But I found this for myself. I love the idea of it. And I find this it could settle me down even before someone comes in. I would open the mat and do this. May the
Yeah.
angels guide our choice of cards, and it just
Oh
feels
my
good.
God. Listening to that
Yeah.
makes me think that that's something you should say when you have a pint. You say this,
Yeah. Hey, the angels, yeah, you know, it's
So,
like if
here's
it
to
wasn't
that.
10 o'clock in the morning, no.
yeah.
Ladies,
It's-
we are out of time. Yvonne, you are still running on Facebook, Conceptual Blending and Tarot Facebook group. You have your you have your we have a complete open to the public gathering on Zoom at the second Tuesday at noon Central Time every month. Ours is we're typically back here on the third Tuesday at noon Central Time. This month we're a week late because of
Life.
things that life in the universe.
Life.
Kate, you are Kate Tarot Cafe. You're plugging away and having a ball with the Biden-Trump situation and everything that goes with that. Dee, are you back at the festivals yet? Are you back at the
No,
market yet? Not yet.
no, I haven't gone back. And actually, the last 2 times it was pouring rain, so I
Oh my
guess
God. Yeah.
I did well.
I think we're gonna have to send you an arc in Minnesota because it's been so rainy. Anne Marie, across the pond, you got
See,
anything
there's
exciting
nothing-
going on?
I am just so jealous when I hear about all your fairs and festivals and things. We don't have a lot of stuff like that here, at least not without traveling a lot to it. We have them, say about,
Yeah.
see, it would be a small thing for you. We have, say, down in Cork, there's a big fair festival, but that's about 5 hours journey.
Yeah,
And we
that's
have
a long way.
another one up in Mullingar, which is about 4 or 5. To you,
Mm.
that would be nothing. but over
Well,
here, that's
that's
a
a long way.
half.
That's a long way for me. I typically will not drive more than 2 hours. I usually like an hour and a half to 2 hour is my maximum. But otherwise, I have to get a hotel and stay overnight because
Yes,
it's
that's
to get up in the morning and spend an hour and a half setting up and then prepping and then 7 hour show and then tear down and then a 2.5 hour drive home. Oh,
too
it's
much,
too much.
too much trouble. But
Yeah,
I tell you an
it's too
interesting
much.
thing now that you ask. Um, for a while, tarot and all these therapies died down a bit around. I'm talking specifically now here in Ireland, and there wasn't too much. They seemed to just cool down.
Yeah.
And in the last year, I'd say, we've had more new age shops opening in town. I've met 2 or 3 people actually talking about tarot, giving tarot lessons, doing tarot readings. So I feel it's only one more step until we organize something like
Right.
this, that we
Now-
have a kind of a local one.
Now I got down here, 7 months ago or so, and in the McAllen, Brownsville, Texas area, and 1.5 million people in this metropolitan area, and there was nothing whatsoever. And there's a lot of people down here that like readings. There's a lot of little individual shops everywhere, but nothing organized. Everything was fractured. And so I spent 4 months getting an event planner, Mystic Markets out of San Antonio, Texas, to come down and set up a show for us down here. And he has done that. So we just had our second show. And it's and so we're still growing and we're trying to figure it all out, but it's about community awareness, getting together and starting to build that community awareness that we're here, there's a place for them to come to find us, and each of us needs to, I mean, that's what would have to happen in any of our areas, so well,
I
ladies,
think but this part of the world, we'd be talking about something like Tuesdays, tea and tarot on a Tuesdays.
right, yeah, that
See
would
what
be the thing
happens.
to do, yeah.
That would be the thing. Anyway,
Okay,
sorry.
you guys, I love you all, and I hope to that you all have a really good month, and let's get together on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you
Right.
then, ladies.
Bye,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Hang
Bye,
on now.
everyone.